Senator Kevin Kelly, Representative Roland Lavoie, Representative Joe Gresco, and I'm probably going to forget somebody else. Representative Nicole Deja? There you are. I think I got Gresco. And Representative Kristen McCarthy-Vahey to talk about these exciting enhancements that the governor is going to speak about today. Lieutenant Governor?
Mayor Hoyt, thank you so much. I'm so excited to join all of you for this transformational announcement about the future of rail in our beautiful state of Connecticut. Today we are making an exciting announcement about the future of rail on the same day that Metro North restores 8 trains to the New Haven line in response to greater commuter demand. Connecticut is coming back from COVID-19. Commuters are returning to the rails. Families are exploring our beautiful state. As a matter of fact, the governor and I were in Norwalk at the Maritime Aquarium, and they were saying that they are getting record numbers of visitors. And families are betting on Connecticut and coming here by the thousands to move to our great state. So it's critical that we continue this momentum by investing in world-class rail service. Time for CT moves us in that direction. Improving our rail service is common sense. It's environmentally sustainable. It's a catalyst for economic development and job growth, and it will bring enhanced service to historically underserved areas. This proposal is also going to create 45,000 good-paying jobs in our community. Gentlemen, we want to see the jobs, jobs, jobs. Our building trades are here. We're so excited for them. And our Governor Ned Lamont has been a fierce advocate for faster, high-quality rail service and transportation infrastructure rebuilding. This bold plan is going to bring real results to the people of Connecticut. It's not pie in the sky. It's not another study. It is time savings initiated that will already speed up our trains within the next year and save time for families and Connecticut commuters. So I want to thank our Legislative Transportation Committee co-chairs, Representative Lamar and Senator Haskell, for their advocacy. And I want to thank our fairy godfather of federal funding, Senator Richard Blumenthal, and our fairy godmother of federal funding, Rosa DeLauro, who are bringing billions of dollars to the state of Connecticut. We want to thank them for their tireless advocacy in Washington, because it has made a huge difference for our state, and it will continue to make a huge difference for our transportation system. And now I am very honored to turn this over to our incredible Transportation Commissioner, Joe Gildea. Joe.
Well, thank you very much to the Lieutenant Governor Leisowitz, to Governor Lamont, Senator Blumenthal, Congresswoman DeLauro, Transportation Committee co-chairs, Senator Haskell and Representative Roland Lamar, and a special thanks to the Connecticut DOT team as well as to the Amtrak and Metro North teams. So thank you everyone for being here, because when Governor Lamont appointed me, and you just heard the Lieutenant Governor mention about getting trains to New York faster, it was the first thing he brought up, the first conversation we had. We've got to work doing the research, the analysis, and developing plans. And that's why we're here today. We're here to share this plan built on 3 pillars: service, infrastructure, and fleet investment. There are numerous pieces to this puzzle, and they're all necessary to bring the governor's vision to a realization. It's time for Connecticut. We're grateful to Governor Lamont, who has kept the pressure on, limited, in terms of how grateful we are for all that pressure. We're thankful to our partners who are essential in moving this forward. We need you in total partnership. Amtrak, Metro North, labor and the construction industry, along with the Federal Railroad Administration and state and federal delegations, because even in this past year, our partnership with Metro North and Amtrak has led to where our congressional delegation got us additional funding for bridges that were out here, that were in dire need of repair, and they've kept us going, and they kept us going all the way through COVID with CARES funding that allowed us to keep our operations going, and we couldn't carry this out without our federal partners. Governor Lamont's vision to have faster trains in Connecticut was not only forward-thinking, but also vital and equitable, because rail is one of the most efficient connectors to Connecticut and New York families and businesses, and we learned how to make it better, faster, more modern, and technologically up to date. So while it was Governor Lamont's charge for me to improve travel times, we had to figure out how in doing so, and we learned that we could achieve time savings on the rail line of up to 25 minutes. Some of this how is already in the works. Happening now are infrastructure improvements such as straightening track curves, improving movable bridges, creating sidings for trains so that they don't have to wait for others. And knowing the infrastructure brings us to another piece of the puzzle that the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, 45,000 jobs. We're bringing more jobs to Connecticut, we're strengthening the economy, improving travel times, and we need your support. The time for Connecticut will require a capital investment of $8 to $10 billion over 15 years. We will look to every program that exists today. We've always been successful, and the federal government has acknowledged that when additional funds were available, they made them available to us because we could deliver, and we have every single year. And we will not stop until we get the support and the funding that we need. So it's time to act on behalf of the residents of Connecticut. There is no question we have a lot of work to do, and we can't be able to do it without our partners. So Washington is an important piece of the funding puzzle. We can't rebuild Connecticut infrastructure without a federal infrastructure bill, and we can't improve Connecticut's rails without federal partners. So I want to applaud the governor and our elected leaders for their commitment to innovate transportation solutions in the region and the state. I am optimistic, and this past year we learned so much and saw new possibilities with having the right technology, the right partners, and the right plan. So the time is right for Connecticut for the 21st century. The benefits will have a significant social, equitable, and economic impact, and investment in innovation and technology. And let's not forget the governor also came up with a plan that we would have free buses on the weekends between Memorial Day and Labor Day. All right, again, to go and encourage the growth you hear for our state infrastructure and our state museums and our state parks. So before I go, I'll say stay tuned. What you're seeing now is just one piece of an entire plan for the Northeast Corridor being developed with our sister states and partners. There's more for the region to come. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you so much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Catherine Rinaldi. She is the president of MTA Metro North Railroad. Catherine.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Catherine Rinaldi. I'm the president of Metro North Railroad. I'm so happy to have been invited to this wonderful event and proud to be here today with you to share my support for this transformative plan for faster rides within the state of Connecticut. Our ridership at Metro North has been steadily returning since the spring, and today, as the Lieutenant Governor noted, we implemented a service increase with another more significant service increase set to take place in August. And now, with so many of our riders returning, we have a unique opportunity to move ahead with time for Connecticut and deliver real results for commuters around the state by increasing service to New York and by cutting commutes by up to 25 minutes. Public transportation is the lifeblood of our economy, and we at the MTA and at Metro North support improved intercity and commuter rail service for the benefit of all Connecticut residents. Time for Connecticut is exactly what we need to promote economic growth that will see us through the pandemic recovery and will set the state up for success for decades to come. There are climate benefits at play here as well. More frequent and faster rail service will get people out of their cars, reducing highway congestion and greenhouse gas emissions at the same time. We need to get this done and funded now. I look forward to working with our partners at the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation and Amtrak on this promising proposal, and I thank the Governor for his leadership on this very important issue. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to introduce Caroline Decker, Amtrak Vice President, Northeast Corridor Service Line. Caroline.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I took the train up this morning from Washington, D.C. I am proof that there are so many better ways to travel than getting in the car or getting in a plane. And what we're talking about today is, pun intended, we are on the right track. We want to thank everyone here for inviting Amtrak, who is working in amazing partnership with the state of Connecticut to advance these important transformative programs and projects to the congressional delegation. I will repeat it, it bears repeating. Congresswoman DeLauro, Senator Blumenthal, the federal funding that you provide for these vital asset replacements are essential. The bridges, when we talk about Connecticut Bridge, Walk Bridge, they are essential and they're costly, but we've got to do it, and working with federal partners at the FRA, we know that it is doable and viable. And in closing, I simply want to say that Amtrak is ready to work hand in glove with Connecticut. We know there are so many opportunities to improve the trip times between important communities in Connecticut and New York and North, and we're going to do everything we can. Train travel is the most energy efficient mode of transportation. In addition to creating jobs, we can fight the climate challenge. This is the best way to decarbonize travel, so let's do it. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Caroline. Next, I'd like to introduce Jim Gildea, Chair of the Connecticut Commuter Rail Council. Jim.
Hi everybody, how you doing today? So I'm very excited to be here because I am a boots in the ground real rail commuter. Not only do I take one line, I take two lines. I take the Waterbury line and then I take the New Haven line, so I get it. And there's a real commuter and there's a rail advocate on the Connecticut Commuter Rail Council. I feel like I speak with real credibility when I tell you that other than safety, the single most important thing to the everyday commuter is spending less time on the train. Simply put, we do not want to be on the train more than we need to. We want to leave our houses later. We want to get home to our families quicker. We want to improve our quality of life, and this plan does that. Thank you. I was recently struck by something that the governor said, and it stayed with me. And he said, it's always a struggle to get Connecticut to pay for transportation. Everybody wants to stand with me on the bridge, but no one wants to pay for it. And that stuck me. So I would like to say to those elected officials who have a say in the funding, do more than stand on the bridge, help fund this plan. The commuters who drive this economy deserve that, and the state of Connecticut needs it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jim, tell us how you really feel. All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Roland Lamont. Roland is the co-chair of the House Transportation Committee.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out today. Before I get started, I want to thank a lot of my friends in the building trades that I see in back here who've been standing with us for almost a decade as we've been fighting for continued investments in Connecticut's transportation infrastructure. And I want to thank the bold leadership of Governor Lamont, who on his first day in office put the gauntlet down and said, how do we get to New York faster? How do we get these trains moving? How do we get people out of their cars and into the city? How do we take advantage of this incredible asset that we have? And of course, I have to thank Senator Blumenthal and my congressperson, who is, I think, undeniably the best leader that I could ever imagine having in the moment that we're in, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, who I think has set a pretty bold agenda for us and who refuses to miss moments. And that's what we have. We have a moment right now where we seize the future. We say Connecticut's investing in our people, in our location. We're taking advantage of this opportunity, and we're going to move forward. We either have this opportunity that we seize or we regret forever. And I know with the leadership that we have, both in the governor's office and our federal partners, we will not miss this opportunity. We will take advantage of the opportunity that we have. We will seize the moment. We will get travel times down by 25 minutes. We will make the investments in our communities that will have more and more people choosing Connecticut for the next generation. And I couldn't be more proud and more thrilled to be here with everyone on this team to get this job done. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Representative Lamar. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Senator Will Haskell, the Senate co-chair of the Transportation Committee.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. There are a million elected officials I'd like to thank, but let me just very briefly say how grateful I am to my friends and my colleagues in the Senate, George Cabrera and Kevin Kelly, for hosting us in their beautiful district today. I'm so excited to be here alongside them to express my support for this truly transformative plan. By the way, thank you for the increased service. I took the train here this morning. It was fast, it was convenient, and I hope everyone has downloaded the new Metro North app. It tells you which car actually has the most seating capacity. So there are already improvements happening every single day to Metro North. You know, I really love what Jim said, a steadfast advocate for the commuters every day, and I love the name of this plan, Time for Connecticut. What could be more valuable for us to give to our constituents than time? You read on a press release that this investment, just in the short term, will save 10 minutes. 25 minutes in the long term, but 10 minutes in the short term. 10 minutes might not seem like a lot, but you start to add it up. You think that the average commuter takes 262 trips every year. 10 minutes both ways adds up to 5,240 minutes. I can't think about what that means exactly, but then I can start to conceptualize 87 hours a year, and I can really conceptualize 3.5 days. That's what we're giving back to our constituents. 3.5 days. That's more time for Connecticut residents to get to work and impress their colleagues and their supervisors. More importantly, it's more time for them to get home and have dinner with their spouse. It's more time for them to get home and tuck their kids into bed at night. It's more time for Connecticut. And it's time for Connecticut to recognize that, as our friends at Amtrak said, investments in rail are investments in cleaner air and cleaner water. It's time to recognize that we can't just complain about businesses and residents not coming to Connecticut, but we have to roll up our sleeves and be a part of the solution. And part of that solution must involve bringing our roads and our rails into the 21st century. So I'm so excited to support this plan. It's long past time for Connecticut to invest in our Metro North Railroad. And I'll just close by saying that on my desk in the Senate, my colleagues have heard me say this before, I keep a Metro North timetable from 1970. And I show anybody who will look at it that the train has gotten slower since then, not faster. By every metric, we're moving in the wrong direction. But that stops now, it stops today, and it stops largely thanks to the leadership of Governor Ned Lamont, who's been focused on this since he first entered office, who hired a commissioner of transportation who's been laser focused on rail, who built an amazing team. Where's Garrett Eucalito? Is he unbelievable advocate for rails? None of this would be possible without Deputy Commissioner Eucalito. I'm so grateful to the Lamont administration for making this a priority. Thank you all.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce our United States Senator Richard Blumenthal.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. A great thanks to Governor Lamont for his vision and his leadership. Thanks to all of my colleagues in our delegation. We are united. Rail is a mission for us, but a special thanks to my wonderful colleague. I'm proud to be the ferry godfather, but godmothers are more important. And I want to thank the folks who have been working on the rail over this last year and a half, the folks who make these trains run, who maintain the tracks, the conductors, the ticket takers, everyone who's been on the front lines. I don't know whether you're here today, but thank you for the great work you've been doing. And thanks to the workers who are going to make Time for Connecticut a reality, the trades workers, and maybe equally important to the unions who represent them and who make them strong and make us strong as a state. This plan has legs, or should I say it has tracks. It is realistic. It's rooted in reality. It's doable. That's one of its great strengths. let's face some uncomfortable truths. How many of you drove over the weekend? What was the traffic like? Intolerable. It was intolerable, bumper to bumper. I was all around the state on Saturday and Sunday, and it took me twice as long to get anywhere than it has before. People are coming out. But here's the first uncomfortable truth. Ridership is only 1/3 of what it was pre-pandemic. That's a hard fact. Number two, it takes about 2 hours to get from this train station to Grand Central. That is 20 minutes slower than 10 years ago. Riders are not coming back unless we make trains faster. That's uncomfortable truth number 3. Riders are not coming back to Metro North or to Amtrak unless we make trains faster. Now, rail has been a mission for me, and particularly rail safety. We now have PTC on these trains, which makes them safer. Now we can make them faster. Speed and safety go together. The FRA can remove the speed limits overnight. And we can make trains faster by straightening the tracks, by modernizing signals, by buying better cars, by making sure that reliability, safety, and speed go together. It's about tracks, trains, speedier, and timetables. So here is another uncomfortable truth, and I'm going to anticipate some of the questions. Who's paying? Right? The federal government should pay for rail in the Northeast corridor, more than it has and more than it is planning right now. We need a massive, bold infrastructure program, bigger and better than what we're seeing right now, emerging as a likely bipartisan plan. The House infrastructure plan does far better than what the Senate is planning right now. And we need 2 Joes, Joe Biden, Joe Manchin, to get behind it. And Joe Gillette is going to persuade both of them. No pressure, Joe. But actually, we all need to persuade them because every state has rail. Literally, every state has rail, and it's all interconnected. If the Hudson Tunnel collapses, if the Walk Bridge in Norwalk collapses, if the Connecticut River Bridge collapses, rail goes down throughout the coast of the United States. Northeast is all linked and interconnected with the rest of the country. So we need to use the Surface Transportation Investment Act that was passed by the Commerce Committee just last Wednesday, improve on it when it goes to the floor. We need to fight and fight hard because it will be a pitched battle to get this plan done and to get this money to Connecticut. I'm very proud that we have great allies here. We're firmly united, and we're going to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And as almost all of the speakers have alluded to, we are at a critical moment as the federal infrastructure plan is being worked on and finalized. We couldn't have a better leader representing Connecticut and our country than Rosa DeLauro, our great Congresswoman, who is the chair of the Appropriations Committee, Madam Fairy Godmother. And the Senator is right, your godmother is so much more important.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. What a joy to be here today. Look, I love trains. I really do. You don't know this about me. I took a train for 4 years from New Haven to Milford to go to Laurelton Hall every single morning. Now, the conductors didn't, we're a little crazed with these young women who are just making a lot of noise. But I take the train. I will be on this afternoon, Caroline, and I pass back and forth from Washington to New Haven twice a week. And it really is. And I say to you, Governor, thank you. Thank you for what you, the priorities that you have made with regard to this. There we go. There we go. All right. And if you ever come to my house, to which you're all welcome, there is on the ceiling in our kitchen a train that goes around. I do love trains. But I want to just say, if you look around here this morning, what a great partnership. It is local, state, federal government coming together to move us forward. And it is about fast train service for the state of Connecticut. And it is about, as the Lieutenant Governor said, jobs, jobs, jobs. And it is infrastructure that creates jobs, and jobs that cannot be outsourced anywhere else. So it is a great moment for us, $8 to $10 billion, necessary down payment for higher speed rail throughout our state. I plan to fight for this effort as chair of the Appropriations Committee to make sure that we are getting the high-speed rail that the people of this state deserve, in partnership with Amtrak, Metro North, and as the commissioner said, it's based on 3 critical pillars: service, infrastructure, and fleet. This is about time savings as soon as 2022. We need to recognize now the importance of investing in high-speed rail. I have been working with the groups that advocate for more rail investment for the Northeast Corridor to ensure that the federal dollars make it to Connecticut and fund high-speed rail projects across New England, projects like this. Let me just mention to you that with the administration, transformational American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion package. It invests in transit systems, $30 billion for transit agencies across the country to prevent, prepare, and respond to the continued threat of the pandemic. $1.7 billion to keep Amtrak fully operational through the end of 2021, ending worker furloughs and restoring service. If you take a look at the multiple efforts in which we have moved since January, the CARES package, including $1.8 billion for rail. December in the omnibus, $1 billion. The American Rescue Plan, the American Jobs Plan. And yes, the House bill is better than what the bipartisan bill is going to come forward with, but we will have an infrastructure package which will include rail. And I might add that the president is apparently going to make some sort of a statement today. Those negotiations have been ongoing. But let's not just leave it there. You've got the president's budget, $88 billion. You've got the surface transportation bill. You've got the appropriations for 2021 and the appropriations bill for 2022, all by way of saying that there is an understanding of how critically important rail service is, making sure that Amtrak, Metro North, and are doing what we need to do in terms of high-speed rail. And believe me, if the Europeans can do it and have high-speed rail, we certainly can do it in this country, for sure. So let me just conclude by saying to you that this is a once-in-a-generation investment. It's now time. We can't go back. We don't go back. Let's look at this moment as the opportunity to build the architecture for the future. This is the architecture for the future. And we need to have, as transportation's key principles, safety as the foundation for everything that we do, economic strength, creating good-paying jobs, equitable access to opportunity, resilience and addressing climate change, and transformative infrastructure. Thank you so much. It's just a joy to be here today to facilitate today's discussion. We will build that architecture for the future. We have the leadership in the governor, we have the leadership in the State House with all who are represented, and we have the leadership at the local level. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Rosa. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And, you know, it takes tremendous tenacity to keep supporting investments in our transportation infrastructure, which everybody loves, but nobody wants to pay for. And our Governor Ned Lamont has just been out there advocating fiercely for this since he took office. My partner in government, Ned Lamont.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Kind of like what you said, Jim. We're sort of practical guys. I mean, the world is littered with 30-year plans, and we'll figure out how to pay for it later. And Joe Giletti has a plan. He has a strategy. He knows how to speed things up. And I said, that's great. What can we do next year? What can we show? I want to show people progress. I want to show them we're able to make a difference. And a lot of it's not flashy, but he tells me, you know, it comes from New Haven, Stratford, on down the line. This is what we can do in straightening out the tracks. This is what we can do with signalization. A little more time, this is what we can do with our bridges. This is how you take 10 minutes off and then 15 minutes off. But it starts today, and we can make a difference tomorrow by starting today. And you're right, there's no such thing as free high-speed rail. And so I want to really thank our godparents here, and Dick and Rosa. Keep inspiring us, letting us know that the resources are there, if we can pay our fair share, and we can continue this track to progress. And Roland and Will, thank you for stepping up and making sure that Connecticut can pay its share, and we don't have to sit back as these amazing federal resources, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we don't let it go to waste. And this is important on so many fronts. It's important to the guys doing the work right here. These are tens of thousands of really good paying union jobs. That's what Connecticut can do. We're ready to hit the ground running. They're ready to get to work. And let's not waste this opportunity. It's incredibly important in terms of the environment and what we can do. If we can get just some of those people out of their cars, get some of those trucks off the road, what an amazing difference that means in terms of your on the highways, and what a difference that means in terms of the environment. What a difference that means to people who maybe live along the rail, suffer from a little bit of asthma. It can make an extraordinary difference there. And finally, what it means just in terms of economic growth, development, and opportunity. Look, we're not a pass-through state. We discovered especially over this last year, people love Connecticut. They want to move Connecticut. They want to stay in Connecticut. And now they don't have to go to New York or Stamford or Hartford every day. Maybe it's a different lifestyle. But it doesn't mean you don't have to make it easier for them to be able to get around. And that's what we're able to do. Imagine, as Will said, what 10 minutes a day means in terms of being able to get that done. Look, the rest of the country's got about 93% of their economy back from where they were pre-COVID. Connecticut's got about 98% of our economy back. We're making extraordinary progress, but we're not going to continue to make that progress unless we put people to work, speeding up our rail system right here, New Haven to Stratford, down to Stamford, an extraordinary difference that makes in terms of opportunity for everybody. And finally, this is real. This is happening. You're going to see a difference within a year. You know, I'm from Connecticut, but the show me state has some meaning to me, and I think you're going to see that difference. And Joe and Garrett, you're on notice. Let's see the difference. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks, Gov. All right. Well, we're so happy to have so many of our media partners here, and we got all of these experts. So do we have any questions?
Sure. So what are we going to see next year? Rosa talked about 2022, the governor. So go ahead, Joe.
You're going to see at least 10 minutes next year, okay? We're going to be able to start running some express trains that are going to take out 10 minutes of travel time, and that will be real, and it'll start next year. And beyond that, it's going to go in segment by segment. You know, what you've heard here today is that there's been a lot in terms of deferred maintenance, okay, and deferred capital programs. But since the governor has come in, we've been investing. We never stopped all the way through the pandemic. We kept construction going. We got the catenary job completed. So right now, the New Canaan line, no longer will you have that sagging catenary wire that we suffered with forever in the beginning, and it took us so many years to go and get that done. So aside from what we've already accomplished there, what you're going to start seeing is the first impetus of faster trains going into New York.
Is that largely due to signalization improvements?
It's a combination of signalization improvements, the PTC going in, being able to alleviate some of the slowdowns that have historically been there. Railroad has been saturated with slowdowns that were out there. We've been able to clean up those slowdowns, and on top of that, what we're doing now is we've looked at all the drawbridges and all the fixed bridges, and we've looked at whether or not we can ballast deck them, and which allows us to increase some of the speeds. We've looked at increasing the speeds on the drawbridges, which are limited by miter rails. So we've taken everything in. We've gone inch by inch over this railroad. So the plan you see in front of you is extremely practical and well laid out. It's more than a vision. It goes right into a plan on the work that's coming forward. Thank you.
Joe, what about the branch line? What's in store for that?
Well, yeah, you already heard the New Canaan line is already looking at a tremendous ability to be able to restore from the heat and cold sanctions. You've heard already the governor turned around and wanted to talk about the Waterbury line and the fact that we are now finishing the signalization on that line. It's the last of the lines that did not have signalization in. That signalization will be completed by the end of this year, which will mean that we'll also be able to run additional trains on that line. Okay, the Danbury line, which already has its high-level platforms, we are looking at some of the factors that can go into that, and I don't want to go too far into it because you hold me to each one of these, and you already heard how the governor holds me to each one of these. So let us put them in as each one comes across. Pay attention and watch as we enact each of these announcements.
Joe, this 10 minutes for next year, that's even if we don't get the additional funding, that's already paid for, it's already in the budget.
The best way I would say it is thanks to the relationship we already have with our federal partners and with the state, we've been able to secure the funding to make sure that that 10 minutes is happening now. Yes.
And ticket-wise, will it have any effect on tickets for the casinos?
Say the last part again.
For ticket prices?
Where's our Metro
Will this plan have
North
any effect
person?
on ticket prices?
Huh? Yeah, no, it is on Connecticut, and I would say to you, right now, we have not looked into that, okay? It's something we have to consider as we're looking for how do we go and pay for things going forward, but there is nothing right now that we have discussed in terms of changing that.
Could you put that 10-minute figure in context? Is that New Haven to Grand Central? Or?
New Haven to Grand Central, but the bulk of it, to be candid with you, the first phase of it is right here in Congresswoman DeLaura's district. We are able to get a lot of the speeds taken out between New Haven and Bridgeport, so that'll be the first impetus on it, but it'll be in the overall from New Haven to Grand Central, you'll save 10 minutes.
Can you break down the different funding sources? You got the state, the federal funding, the real money sources.
I'm going to tell you, there's a brochure over there that I'd like you to pick up, okay? At the end of the day, the way that we've been able to do things here is when it comes to capital projects, you go after the federal funds on it. In some cases, we've been very fortunate. So if you've been following, you'll note that we got a lot of money from the federal government through the FRA when we were looking at doing our bridges. So it's not a clear, decisive answer on that. In some cases, you get a 90-10 split, where 90% of it comes from the federal government. Some cases we get grants that are 100%. So I would say to you, you have to follow on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
Governor, just wondering in terms of the financing, that was part of the issue with tolls. We're going to raise money, and then we're going to be able to use this money to leverage federal highway and rail loans. We've just gotten the highway user tax. It's going to be, what, $90 million in a couple of years when it kicks in. Is that going to be sufficient? Are you going to have sufficient sources of state funding to leverage the kind of federal funding that
Yeah, we could do this first round, Paul. I mean, that's why it was really important. We're going to get $90 million a year in additional resources. We'll be able to leverage that. For our godparents, get us a 90-10 match. That makes it a little easier. 80-20, we'll have to slow down a little bit, but we've got the resources in place, Paul, to do that 10 minutes. We ought to have that done, in a little over a year. Yeah, we would have to bond our, say, 10% share of that $10 billion, that $1 billion. But the $100 million a year, $90 million a year we get from the highway user fee gives us a little bit of flexibility there.
Yeah, roles are reversed down there. It's the president doesn't want the gas tax, and some of the Republicans want a user fee to pay for things. That said, look, you talk to Dick and Rosa. I think infrastructure is broadly, we know how important it is. I think that's bipartisan. There's always a squabble about how you pay for it. You guys going to get it done?
Just think of it for a moment. When I read off the litany of what the federal government's commitment was to transportation, to rail, to infrastructure, going back to last year in December with an omnibus bill, prior to that looking at the CARES packages, and now with the American Rescue Plan with the sizable amount of money, and that money is beginning to flow to the states, etc. Now the jobs piece is a very, very big piece, and there is commitment to infrastructure. We will work out the details of this, but critically important in all of this, and in the midst of this, it gets complex. You've got a surface transportation bill, which increases funding. That is up for amendment this coming week. And quite frankly, if we do not get agreement in the short term on where we want to go, we will move on the surface transportation bill, and hopefully we'll go bigger than we were last year. And that has repercussions for the amount of money we will have in the state. As I mentioned to you, there are appropriations bills. Those bills have got to be passed every year. We had a sizable amount for infrastructure and rail in the 2021 bill. We will do the same. We're putting together those bills now. So yes, there will be, bumps, etc. along the road, but I believe that there is a serious commitment all of the way around for infrastructure, because the realization is that it's an economic driver. It creates jobs, and it creates the much-needed services that our citizens need to move forward.
I think that, the president on how to pay for it has laid out some very realistic principles. A minimum corporate tax, but no tax increase for anybody earning more than $400,000, which means no user fees and no heightened gas tax. And that's why he's opposed to it, and I'm opposed to it. So I think that a combination of minimum corporate taxes and maybe some increases in capital gains for people earning more than $400,000 is a major way that it will be funded. But I think right now, the important point is to agree on the investment. It's not spending, it's not funding, it's investment in our future. And if we don't invest now, we're going to pay a lot more later.
Question for, I guess it's for Lieutenant Governor. You've been on the political scene in Connecticut a long time. I've been here covering this state for 40 years this week. I feel like I've been here before. Like, help me convince people that are reading what I write that this is any different from 50 other times that we've heard it.
Because we, first of all, as Commissioner Giletti said, this 10 minutes out of the 25 that we're getting is already invested in and paid for. And second, we have this transformational opportunity that we haven't seen in at least 5 or 6 decades to get federal infrastructure dollars. And thirdly, we've already received, as Congresswoman DeLauro was pointing out, money toward that effort from the various federal acts that have already been passed and are being funded. And fourthly, I'll say, there were a lot of people who doubted we'd get online gaming and gaming reform done. Yeah, it was complicated. It took a couple of years. And same thing with marijuana. The tough stuff takes a while to sort out, but we're on track. We have a plan. And for the first time, we already have and will be receiving major federal dollars to do this.
So you're saying we can smoke pot on the cars?
That's up to the Commissioner on Consumer Protection.
Dan,
No
let's
smoking.
not minimize that there has been progress, right? Over 40 years. Trains are safer today because we have positive train control, which took a while to get. Now we need to make them faster. And the difference is, and I understand, no one is more realistically skeptical than the road warriors who ride these trains, with good reason. But this plan is really grounded in reality. It's not some fantasyland extravaganza. It's not a 20-year vision. It's 2022. We're going to take 10 minutes off your trip, even more, 25 minutes by 2025. It's a timetable. You can hold them and all of us accountable.
No, I just wanted to say this to you. Where have you been before where you're talking about a successive federal commitment to dealing with infrastructure and rail and doing things for Amtrak and Metro North and for the Stratford to Bridgeport piece here? I don't know of. Most recently, we heard a lot about infrastructure. There was Infrastructure Week, 1 week, then another week was Infrastructure Week, and never did we get to anywhere with regard to infrastructure. We are now getting somewhere with regard to infrastructure. The senator pointed out progress, and the progress is there. And the dollars are there as well for the states and our local communities to be able to take advantage of it.
Can I just weigh in too? I'm not usually a guy who would talk, but I would just invite you to Derby or the Waterbury line. When you see the 4 passing sidings that are complete, they're going to call, yes, that's now going to call for increased service. That's real boots in the ground improvement that this administration is seeing to the end and putting trains in. So I just tell you as a commuter, I don't really share that pessimism. I see some good things that have happened, and I'm convinced.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, I do. The bridge here in Stratford is one of the first bridges that is going to get repaired, correct? No, the bridge here in Stratford is one of the first bridges that's going to get repaired with the time for Connecticut?
Norwalk is under construction right now. You're right that Devon will be the next one that we've got to go and look at, and we're looking at a multiple of options on it.
Beautiful. And then,
Yeah, you're looking for the work? Yes,
I'm
there's going to
looking
be a
for
lot of
the-
work here.
I'm looking for the extension of the platform.
Oh, okay.
And Dan, I'll just say that soon you'll be able to do sports betting on your phone while you're on the train. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
No smoking on train.
Everybody, can you line up?
Hey, buddy. Nice to see you.
Can I get a
You're
picture
great.
of everybody?
Practical. I like that.
Can you come
What is?
forward?
Cindy. Oh, really? I forgot.
Can everybody come forward and line up so I can get a
We should
picture?
get together soon.